Hello, EctoSage here on the Sage channel, and this large ship I'm about to be flying under is called the Mauler. This is actually a Planet Cracker class ship designed after the Planet Crackers featured in Dead Space. And this ship is, well, one of my favorites, frankly. Now, of course, in Space Engineers, you can't really crack a planet in the same way you would in Dead Space. In Dead Space, they have large ships similar to these with these large arms, and what they do is basically gravity tether certain portions of the planet or large terrestrial body above and pull that piece that they've tethered free up into space, and then they cut it up and harvest it there, harvest its ores and useful materials, which means you don't have to set up a huge colony on the planet just to mine this stuff out and then have a big colony that you have to abandon. It means you do it all in space, or at least with this one's case, you would grab a large piece of, let's just call it Earth, even though it's going to be from another planet or piece of whatever in space. You'd pull it up here and then you'd cut it apart and store it all inside the ship before taking it away. In the future, I might go ahead and actually add gravity drives to each of these arms. That way it could sort of pull stuff up, but just for right now, there's no such luck. But that's what this whole thing is. It's basically the gravity tethering area where we pull the large chunks that is cracked free from the planet up. And now let's go ahead and look at the nacelles on the sides of this ship. There are two of them, of course. There's one on each side. And the ship is mirrored left to right, but no other fancy mirroring this time. I figured to actually try to do something a little less mirroring because, well, let's be honest, the last ship I put out that was all mirroring, a bit boring. This one, not so much. I'm actually very happy with this ship. So each of the nacelles along the sides here, you can see they have a huge amount of engines and a lot of orange running lights. And then along the top, fair few engines, and if we were to fly all the way down to the bottom, and so we have an assortment of engines down there as well. So you can see their lines straight across the bottom. Not all that many. And then on the interior wall, there's no engines there because we don't want to be destroying the center section of the ship, which is this area here, which is actually the only really inhabitable area on the ship. At the front of the nacelles, though, you can see the huge amount of stopping power we have here. I believe there is more than enough space between this and those, so it won't be melting the gravity tether arms. But then at the back, if we were to fly along here, we have a huge amount of forward thrust here. Now these might seem like the perfect candidates to have a gravity drive stuck inside, but I actually tried something a little bit different and more old-fashioned with these. So I'm actually going to go to show this into spectator mode, so F8. And there we go, we're in spectator mode, and now let's speed up back here. And by the way, the reason I wasn't showing in spectator originally is because I end up being very jumpy like this, and you don't have the slowdown, which is actually quite cinematic a lot of times. But anyway, if I was to fly into these nacelles, you can instantly see I have another set of engines in here. And engine damage is still on, or thruster damage I should say. So these would burn through all these, but I've given them at least 12 block clearance, so I'm pretty sure they will not hit each other. And then I have another lineup here, and of course this is mirrored on the other nacelle. So this gives us a whole lot more forward power than we would otherwise have. And then of course I'm sure you notice along the ceiling we have this huge amount of gyroscopes here. I believe if I actually fly through the floor, we actually have another layer of just pure gyroscopes up here. A little hard to see, but you get the point. There's another layer of just gyroscopes here, floor, and then more gyroscopes. So this ship can turn a lot. At the very bottom of the nacelles, they have these large rows of reactors. We actually have two rows here, and they're all connected through conveyors, and this again is mirrored on the other side of the ship. All the way at the end here though, we have this block which actually goes through the wall, through this overpass, and into the actual main body of the ship. And I'll explain that in a minute here, but first I'm going to go ahead and grab my body and show you how you would actually get on board this ship if you were, let's say, one of the workers mining bits of asteroid or bits of rock and free, trying to get the ore and then bring it inside the ship, or even just somebody coming to visit. Now if you're coming to visit this ship, let's say maybe somebody who's funding one of these expeditions, maybe a company owner who actually owns one of these ships but of course isn't going to be flying it himself. If you have a smaller ship but still luxurious, you could fly it in here, a bit of a squeeze, dock and go into the ship through here, and then your ship could fly away, or even just stay docked from here. If you have an even smaller ship but is probably your personal yacht, or not really yacht but personal transport, you wouldn't land in this large Orn docking bay. That's for the workers. That's where they drop off their supplies. You'd come down here into what is basically the captain's docking area, and you would dock your ship right with that connector right there. That way you could refuel it. And then of course you'd head inside the ship through there. Now you could go ahead and dock here, but like I said, this is for the workers. Where the workers do is they bring the ores that they found and they drop them off in here. And again, I'm going to go into spectator mode now to show you where that ore goes from this point. So back in spectator mode with F8, I'm going to buzz around to the front of the ship again. And through here, once it's dropped off into that, it goes through the floor, into the piping system, down all the way to this junction here. And this junction actually connects back up with the junction that led over into the nacelles over there. It connects into a refinery, and note, there's only one of them on this side, there's another one on the other side. Overall, not that many. Remember, the ship is designed to gather up the ores and mainly just transport them back to a larger refining area. This is sort of only if they really need to refine anything. The pipe that goes up here goes up into an assembler here. Remember, the ship mirrored left to right, so there's actually another one over there. You might notice a red pipe there. I have to fix a little something there, but nothing to worry about. And then this pipe here along the back pops out and goes to another junction here. The down junction leads through the floors all the way down and into the captain's docking bay. And the up junction, if we were to follow this pipe upwards, leads out into the back storage area, which I'm getting to now. And the back storage here is pretty huge, actually. The bottom area of it is exposed. And if we were to follow the pipes all the way to the back here, you can see we have a connector. I'll probably end up moving that forward, but that's the main connector point where another cargo ship, or even once this thing gets to a refinery platform, it would dock and unload all of its ores into that. Then, if we were to continue up the pipe, you can see we have tons and tons and tons of storage. That's 1, 2, 3, 4 layers of large cargo containers that are, I believe, yeah, 4 long. So it's 4 by 4 pretty much. It's a pretty hefty storage area, and of course they're all connected. So even if the ship doesn't have little ships coming to grab the ore frequently, it could still be amassing a fair amount of ore before it needed to actually go drop it off somewhere. And of course it could be refining a small amount for its own use if need be. Anyway, now that you got the basics of its internal piping system, we can go ahead and actually continue our tour on foot. And to start this tour, I'm going to go ahead and go all the way down here into the captain's hangar. And we'll start from right here. So got some nice blue lights, not really any railing here. If maybe I'll add some, but the fact that you can't really have railing going down a stairwell means no matter what, it's going to feel pretty unsafe here. Be cautious. But if we were to go ahead and head through this door, we're now heading into the small airlock for the captain, and then into the hallway. And you might notice there was no lights in that airlock because of the cramped space. We do have an orange light here, as per most of my ships, to give you a heads up that, hey, orange, danger, you're probably going into an airlock or somewhere that can depressurize easily right now. And then we have some storage here, so if the captain or any higher ranking guests care to visit, they can drop off anything here and somebody else can grab it, take it elsewhere, or spacesuits could of course be stored here for those that wish to just do a spacewalk. So anyway, let's head through this doorway here. By the way, you might have noticed that, if I can find the center point, there we go. That on the other side of the hallway down here, another door. Remember, the ship's mirrored left or right, so this is basically the same thing as down in the other hallway. So let's carry on up this, and you're going to notice that there is a lot of space between floors. So we had a door there we had to go up to before we found a door here. And this door, if we were to run into it, you see high ceilings on a lot of these areas because there is a lot of space between floors. This leads us into a much more robust airlock. And this is, of course, for the main crew hangar bay. So you can see that's where they would store all their tools, spacesuits, all that. It's a bit limited. I should probably try to sort the pipe system into it, but for right now I think it'll do fine. Let's go ahead and seal this door. By the way, I just want to say I love that view so much. I love it. You know, let's go ahead and seal this door. So nice little crew airlock. A little hard for me to find that center point without my target reticle on that I'm used to. Let's go ahead and turn that on really quickly, that way I'm not getting lost here. There we go, target reticle turned on. I'll probably mod in my own target reticle. By the way, the last update, they seem to have shrunk the control area on these controls, so you have to aim right at the middle. I suspect that wasn't actually intentional. Anyway, let's carry on from that floor, which really just had that one hallway that connected to the main crew hangar. And let's carry on up, and you can see there's a huge amount of nothing here. That's because these are all floors, just trying to cover the distance between that crew hangar and the next floor, which in this next floor is a pretty simple setup. We run into here, And straight ahead is just the mirror of where we just came from. Leads into the other stairwell on the other side of the ship. Through this door is actually an airlock, so we get the orange here. So if you open this door, depressurizes this little square room, and it leads out into the main storage area that we were buzzing around in spectator mode a minute ago. Not really the door you'd ever really want to open, but I figured there should be some sort of access there. And then if we were to go through this door, it leads us into the overlook control room for the main hangar bay. That way, if you got ships coming out, these people can coordinate them pretty easily. Oh, and by the way, that is a custom model right there. One of mine. With the recent update with the passenger seats, I'm hoping maybe I can tweak this in the near future, but no promises. But I have these scattered around the ship just to sort of say, hey, this is where a control panel would be, or just a personal desk. In this case, those would be control panels. And I have them down here that sort of symbolize where there'd be more controls and stuff to overlook the hangar bay. And right down there's the door we came in, or at least looked through earlier. Anyway, let's carry on and go back to the stairwell that we were in a few minutes ago. That's it for that room. And that's it for this floor, actually, a very cramped floor. And the reason that these floors have so little in them is because that airlock there that led out, it's because there's just a ton of storage room right there. So there's not really any room to put rooms on these floors. That's why there's such a gap between them, really. And let's carry on up here till we get to the next floor. And in this room, or I say room, it's a hallway. So now we can instantly see there's much more space up here. And if we were to take a look here, you can see we go back farther because now we're above that large storage area. Now the first thing we'll go ahead and look through are these doors here. And these are airlock doors into that large airlock we looked at on the side of the ship. So if I was to pop both these open and hop out here, ta-da, you can see that is the side docking area here. And let's go ahead and get back in here, close you back up, close you back up. And now you're probably wondering, what the heck is this large glass window? Well, this is the planet cracking control room. So basically, while they're doing the planet cracking and communicating with maybe a few people they have on the surface, if they had this up a very small colony just to facilitate the planet crack, these would be the people mainly contacting them and then communicating during the actual planet crack and controlling the large piece of Earth as is pulled up here. And in this case, these are indeed supposed to be control panels. I will hopefully have a custom model sometime in the semi-near future. But anyway, I love this control room. It's one of my favorite control rooms just because of the two-tier thing. You got the nice windows that can overlook that incredible view. Just imagine there being a large planetoid of some sort there and big rock being pulled up. It would be awesome. Anyway, let's go ahead and, oh, by the way, I just love this little lighting setup I have here. I'm thinking I might use that in the future if I can get the lights to actually shine through a bit more. But anyway, let's move on from this room, and a nice little view here. That way, if you had to brief some of your crew, you could actually do it through these windows, even though it's a little hard to see through them the other way. And then some chairs here, by the way. I should point those out. I just tossed a few of those around the ship. That way, if the ship's ever having a bit of a turbulent time, a few extra seats. Anyway, moving on down this hallway, we have nice high ceilings, all of this, and finally we reach this door here. And you might notice a big gap here. That's, of course, to facilitate the stairwell that goes up and down in that section. And then we finally get to these doors, which have the main crew sleeping area. And inside of these rooms, we have a nice view here. Not the nicest because you're really just looking at a nacelle, but you can see a bit of stars, or if we're above a planet below. And it's better than just having a brick wall there, or just a solid wall, I figure. And then, of course, we have room for 6 people in each of these rooms. And you can see we have tons of these rooms. These are the same thing on either side of the ship. So we got room, 6 rooms total. A lot of people can sleep on this deck. And then this door at the very end is actually the crew recreational area and sort of mess hall, where right now I don't have any custom models for it, but in the future I'd like to sort of have a sort of kitchenish area there where the food would be produced, or at least gotten ready for people, and then large benches for people to sit and eat at, and then maybe a more of a recreational area over here. That way, people could still enjoy the large view that you'd have out of these back windows. Anyway, let's go ahead and carry on up to the rest of the ship, and as I run down this hallway, I am going to close these doors as I go, then open the middle ones. There we go. It just seems right to close them all. That way your ship's in proper state. And now that's it for this floor. We'll carry on to the next floor. By the way, I love the high ceilings in here, even if lighting got a bit weird in this section. Anyway, let's carry on back up to a few more floors. And it's going to be a bit of a gap here between floors just because of those high ceilings. But soon enough, we'll come to another floor right here. And this floor, I believe, is actually, yes, it's sort of the middle crew deck. So that was the lower ranking officers or lower people. I don't know. Yeah, rank, that was right. Lower ranking officers deck. This is sort of the middle ranking officers deck. Now, their rooms actually do not have windows, but of course their hallway has these nice windows up the side, which I can actually walk up to, which seems a bit strange. The crew wouldn't actually do this, but it's just so that they have some sort of view, and it's actually a pretty nice view out there. But each of their rooms are exactly the same as another. They're a single bed, a single nice little work desk, and pretty high ceiling, so you get some space. But that's about it. There's a bunch of these rooms here on this floor. And if we actually run down the hallway, you can see room, tons and tons of these rooms. And then at the very back, we have a nice long hallway where you could technically, and I suspect you'd have a few little benches or something so that these high-ranking officers could at least relax with a nice view of their own without having to go down to the mess hall, which would really be all that would be for them, is a mess hall. And then we have more rooms here on the other side of this ship. So, bunches and bunches of rooms. And now we do have another connecting hallway here, which leads back to the stairwell we were in, but you might have noticed that as I walk down it, we have this door here. This leads into their own sort of personal briefing area. So this is sort of like the, I wouldn't quite call them officers, but they're getting there, and they can brief from here. And I don't know, I just love the inset lights, how bright this room is. If I had another custom model, it would be a big desk right here. And then, of course, you could have other people standing up in that hallway, and I'll be getting to that in a second. So let's go ahead and head to that next floor. And you can see there's not much difference between this floor and that one, because this next floor up doesn't actually go back far, because it would then eat into that living quarter area. You can see here it doesn't go that way, because of course it would eat into each of those rooms. But you can then look into that briefing room, and presumably you'd be getting briefed by the people in there. And then if we were to head down this hallway, it leads us to what are the medical areas. So on the right here we have the surgical area. So you have a nice little desk where somebody could welcome you. Somebody would be working on an actual control panel here, which would obviously, I'd replace this with something else. And then they'd be monitoring the people in the surgical machines, which I think is pretty cool. And by the way, these surgical machines are also another custom model, which people have been asking for it a little bit. I want to redo it a lot, because right now you can tell it's got a lot of very flat textures on it. I'm wanting to rework a lot of that. But anyway, that's what's on this side. On the other side here, it is not mirrored exactly the same size room, but on this side we actually have our standard medical respawn chamber here, which hopefully once factions get in, you won't need multiples of these for every person. You'll just be able to have one. And then we have the sort of sickbay beds and a sickbay receptionist check-in. So got some basic stuff here to get you the idea across. I'd like a few more custom models of medical stuff, but right now, no such luck. Not sure I'll get to that anytime in the near future. Let's go ahead and close these doors and carry down this hallway to the very end here. And this leads to the overpass, which actually leads over the entire gravity array that would pull up pieces of planet, which is pretty cool. It's a really, really, really long shot. I like it a lot. It's mainly just for overview though, and not really anything else. It doesn't even have gravity, which is why I'm flying right now, but I don't know, it's a nice view, and it's really just there for if something goes wrong, you can fly up here and go ahead and take a look at everything and try to see what went wrong without actually having to get a spacesuit on, just some sort of zero-G rig. That's it. Anyway, let's go ahead and close that door, and you might notice orange lights in there because it isn't exactly the safest area to be without a zero-G rig, at least. It's sort of to give you a warning. Anyway, back into this hallway here, and we'll carry on up to the next floors. Oh, by the way, something you probably have noticed is this little chute here. It is the hallway block, and that's so if you have a jetpack, you can easily go up and down all the floors quickly if you know what floor. Unfortunately, there's no signs in this game. It's something I want, sort of an LED sign you could program writing into. That way you could put it right there and be able to mark each of the floors, but unfortunately, no such luck yet. Anyway, once we get up to the next floor, here we go, this is it. You will find, I believe this is the captain's area and the bridge. So, yes, this is the start of the bridge at least. So here we go, it leads into the bottom floor of the bridge. These would of course all be replaced with proper control panels. We have some seating back there for visiting guests or anybody who's not really needed to be working but maybe needs to be here watching. And then up there is the second floor of the bridge with a whole lot more stuff. Let's actually go ahead and get up to that one pretty quick. I believe this hallway here, is this a dead end or, oh no, this is a long one. We'll go up to the top of the bridge and then we'll come back down to this. So all the way up this hallway here, it leads to what is actually a dead end, nice little overlook, and then into the hallway leading to that second floor of the bridge. And you can see it's a very small hallway here. This leads into the other stairwell right there on the other side of the ship. This of course leads into the bridge. And it's got its own nice little airlock here. That way, if things go wrong in the bridge, it can actually have a pressurized gate. That way, people can get in and repair it. Of course, you wouldn't want this area to be depressurized. But as you can see, not really a good view of the planet crack, but a very good view of the actual overall top of the ship. If I was to go into spectator mode, we can now, of course, go ahead and fly up to the top. And by the way, now on my way up there, I'll actually point out that's the bridge area there for the planet cracking. And there's the large overpass that we were running through earlier. It's all pretty nice. Let's go ahead and fly all the way up to the top now. And here's the actual bridge. And it's nice overlook of everything to do with the top of the ship. Really, it's just to give you a good view of where the ship's going. Most people wouldn't be on this bridge anymore, except for maybe communication purposes with farther away things. Most people, once this ship is in place and actually doing its job of getting ready to crack a planet and actually doing so, would be down here in this bridge. And now let's go ahead and carry on to the higher ranking officers and captain's quarters. And to do that, actually, we're going to go ahead and close these two doors here and just jump down, I think, to the lower floor. So let's do that, and we'll jump down here. Not exactly advisable, frankly, if I was not in creative, but it gets the job done. And now we'll head back into this hallway here that we were in earlier, and we can go ahead and head down this hall, which is leading to the higher ranking officer's crew area, which is pretty nice. They have this nice little step down here. I'm not sure exactly if I like it. I'm thinking maybe I'll put railing there, or maybe I'll put a stairs there or something. But they end up with a pretty nice view of the stars, the nacelle, just a decent view overall. And they have a bed and a work desk, and the work desk faces a door. That way, if anybody needs to come in and talk to them, they can do easily. And these are the same on each side of the ship. Bunches and bunches of nice rooms. So you got a fair few rooms here for your officers, and then if you get to the end of the hallway, you get the captain's room and quarters. So pretty dang luxurious area. This ship would be owned by a company, or more than likely, well, yeah, a company, and then the captain be sort of in control. But he'd have his own work desk here for all of his papers, and then he'd actually have his own receptionist, I figured, since a lot of people would probably be trying to bug him a lot of the time. And let's be honest, he wouldn't need to be on the bridge for a lot of the day, because of course the people at the lower bridge would be the ones doing most of the work getting ready for the planet crack. He'd just be sitting up here monitoring stuff from his own and dealing with whatever political nonsense he ended up in, because let's be honest, a captain of a civilian ship of this size that would be operating farther away from civilized space, well, it's probably going to have its own military escort, but at the same time, that military is probably not going to be actual military, they're going to be private. Anyway, let's not go off on any more of that tangent, shall we? This is the actual captain's sleeping room. It's much smaller, much more private. The light's a little bit dimmer in here, but he still has this nice view out the back. Overall, I'm pretty happy with the ship. It's probably one of my favorites. I'm hoping to make a few more planet crackers, preferably bigger than this one, in the future. And just carry on with them. I like planet crackers a lot. By the way, here along the side, I'm not sure I really showed these when I was on the outside. These are the higher ranking crew quarters, the officers' quarters. Those are those windows that led into the hallway for the middle ranking officers and people's quarters. And then down here are the large windows for the actual main crew. And then of course down here is the area we already showed off a little bit, the main storage area. And then from there on the back of the ship as we go up, there's the large recreational and eating area, this small overlook hallway for the middle officers and relaxation, and then the captain's bridge, or captain's quarters, and his nice big room, which I suspect any captain would probably decorate with whatever he liked. That way the officers could all come up there and talk with him and relax, and whatever high-ranking officers on a private ship do. Probably drink, laugh, and gamble. Anyway, that's it. This is the ship. I'm pretty damn happy with it, as I already said. I guess the last thing I should do, shouldn't I, before I end this video, is actually go ahead and take it for a spin, because that's what everyone likes to see, is ships moving, don't you? So let's go ahead, buzz down this hallway. Shall we crash it too? I don't know, maybe. And let's go ahead and jump in the very front seat here, right in the middle. It's nice view. Not the best for flying such a big ship. You usually depend on scanners. And now let's go ahead. You can see the mass at the far right there. All 42 million kilograms. And yeah, shall we start moving? Let's forward thrust full. Pretty good acceleration, I personally think. That engine behind engines thing with the huge gap in there ensures that the ship shouldn't be in any real spot of bother. Now, this is such a huge ship that my frame rate has dropped to 6, which is probably pretty painful for your eyes. I do apologize for that. But there you go. You can see it turns, it moves quick. It's a very nice ship. Anyway, that's it, guys. Thanks a bunch for watching. I hope you like this ship. I am very, very fond of it. It should be up on the Steam Workshop sometime in the near future if you'd like to download it and take a look yourself. And hopefully one day I'll actually be able to put a gravity tethers of some sort on the actual gravity tether arms and maybe shift some large rocks about. We'll see. Anyway, that's it, guys. Thanks a bunch for watching, and I'll see you next time.